Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you. So, thank you very much, ma'am, to accept our invitation to give a talk in this session. First of all, we must introduce ourselves. We are a small group of research students, mostly from IIT BHU Varanasi, and going to form a Sigma J student chapter here. Sigma J is a non-profit scientific research on a society for scientists and engineers at the international level. We organize scientific discussion sessions with experts from multidisciplinary area throughout the world. Given this, for the April session, we have requested Dr. Mahua Saha to deliver a lecture on her work on chemical oceanography. Dr. Saha is the principal scientist of Chemical Oceanography Division and has done her PhD from Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology, Japan, in environmental science. She received a mixed scholarship in 2005 from Ministry of Education under Japanese government, and she has lots of publications and patents and everything. And her research area is mainly study of microplastics in Indian Ocean. So, with this, I must thank you, ma'am, from all of us for accepting our invitation. So, please elaborate your talk and proceed accordingly, ma'am. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for inviting me for this talk, because yeah, I deliver talk quite at different places normally, and because this topic on which we are doing the research, it's a very important and very much social relevant topic. So it is for benefit of the society, and of course the science involved in it. So usually yeah, so I'm very happy and privileged to be here today, and although it's a Sunday, I hope it will be helpful for the people who are attending, and they will understand it. In case you have any question, or then later on you can ask me. So today basically I am going to talk about marine microplastics impact and governance to the Indian Ocean ecosystem. So basically, yes, we started this work in NIO, National Institute of Oceanography, kind of 6 or 7 years back, and then yeah. So we then this topic I choose for our research, because in India, there 5 or 6 years back there was no research on this plastic. So uh, I should hide this because it's kind of interrupting. So all of us, we know what is plastics. Plastic is a synthetic material made from the wide range of organic polymers. Yeah, it is a synthetic material. It comes from different type of organic material like coal or petroleum. And then in 20th century, there we call it as a revolution of plastic era, because this plastics introduced was introduced in our life in a various way because of its low cost, lightweight, moisture resistant, ease of manufactures, and it's very versatile. That's how you can see that everywhere we started using plastics. But then in 21st century, we suddenly came up to a huge problem of plastic pollution, because we suddenly found ourselves that we are sitting on a plastic planet. Why this situation have created? Because of irresponsible uses, improper management, and the dumping of plastic products, lack of information of the negative effect of this plastics pollution. So in 1997, Professor Charles Moore, actually he's a captain, he's not a professor, but we call him professor now because he only found this Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is as big as Texas City in the gyre. So henceforth, this plastic pollutions have been, is being a very important topic around the world. So everyone started working on these plastic pollutions, and how we can face it, how we can, what is the problem. So problem is that plastic debris in the ocean environment, it is there everywhere. Over 80% of the pollution in the ocean is a runoff from the land, and almost 90% of all floating materials in the oceans are plastics. Plastics are there throughout the water column, everywhere. It is in the surface water, it is in the water column, it is in the ocean floor, in the sediment, and also in the shoreline, in the beach environment also. Everywhere we find plastics. So global plastic production, you can see it was in 1950, it was 1.5 million metric ton, where it increased by almost 360 million metric ton by 2018. Even now, it is almost the same, even after the COVID. So in that, this plastic Europe data shows that China is 30% of the world's plastic production. More than 50% of these plastics are the single-use plastics, among which only 9% are recycled. So when we are talking about this plastic pollution, so how it create, it is because of the mismanagement of the plastic waste. So in 2010, Jambach published one paper in Science that she studied in 192 countries, coastal countries around the world, and the area covered almost like 50 kilometers of the coastal towards the land. And then he found that major the 20 major countries who are majorly responsible for this plastic mismanagement, and there India lies in the 12th positions. But the problem is that we should not be happy being a 12th position, because the way we are producing the plastics, the way we are our consumptions and waste generations is happening, it is not much we are not much behind than China, who are leading. So by 2025, we are suspecting that India will reach to the 5th position in terms of the mismanagement of plastic waste. Why it is the situation in India is like that? If you look that the plastic processing industries in India, it was like 22 million metric ton in a year by 2020. It was now Central Pollution Control Board has been published. So it was in 2017 13.4. So in 3 years you can see how much plastic production is happening. According to the CPCB, among the 60 major Indian cities, Delhi is leading in terms of the ton per day plastic waste. It is almost, among the 25,000 ton per day, Delhi is having almost 690 ton per day plastics waste. So 11 kg of plastics per capita has been consumed according to CPC. So you can see that how this packaging industry, how this the whole growth of plastic industries is leading in India. And that's how it started the problem. So plastic is not a very simple problem, because the way we are seeing the plastic pollution, the macro size, the larger size plastics what we are seeing all over surrounding us, that's not all the threat what we have. The threat is that the more smaller size plastics, which we call as a microplastics. Now coming more details to the microplastics. What is microplastics? Microplastics, when the plastics goes through a degradation process, which could be photo degradation or chemical degradation or hydrodynamic degradations. There are a lot of process of degradations could happen, and the larger size plastics can be broken into very small pieces, which is called as microplastics. The size of microplastic could be like 5 mm to 1 micron, and even less than 1 micron we call as a nanoplastics. So microplastics have two variety. One is primary microplastics and another is secondary. Primary microplastics are those raw materials, those pellets. Here in this picture you can see these are the primary microplastics, which is kind of 1 mm to 5 mm in size. Also the microbeads, which are used in cosmetics products, the microfiber, which comes from the textiles. These are also considered as a primary microplastics. Whereas secondary microplastics we call after the fragmentation of the larger size plastic, the micro size plastics which are formed, we call it as a secondary microplastics. That could be the fiber fragments or film, any sort of size or shapes it could be when it comes about the secondary microplastics. So once these microplastics come to the environment, so there are several sources of this microplastic. As I said before, that this is mainly the land based. 80% are the land based and 20% are the ocean based. And this can come from the several source like rivers, like the sewage outlets, and various sources as I said, primary and secondary microplastics are coming from the different way. And once it is coming to the environment, in coming to our ecosystem, it poses a huge threat to the whole ecosystem. The threats are the risk of the microplastics are majorly categorized as three way. One is the particle risk. Particle risk means microplastic itself is a threat to us. Once it is going to a body of any biota or any organisms, it choke the whole system, which finally pose a threat to that particular species. So that itself is a particle risk. And along with that, microplastics also carry the lot of hazardous chemicals because its surface is very is hydrophobic. So a lot of persistent organic pollutants, which we call as a very toxic pollutants, hazardous, those can absorb on the surface of the microplastics. And microplastic is a very good carrier or vector of all those chemicals, which so basically microplastics carry those chemicals from the environment to the ecosystem, to the trophic level. And once it is reaching to the trophic level, to the lower trophic level, is gradually go to the higher trophic level, and finally it end up with us, the human beings. So we are not behind that the threat. So we are actually really opposed the we are in facing the threat of microplastics. And the third is the pathogenic risk. Microplastics also carry lots of pathogenic bacteria, which is very, very serious stuff. Like it is a recent study which they are saying that a lot of pathogenic bacteria which cause severe diseases and endocrine disruptions, cancers. So a lot of other things can happen because of this microplastics. So these are basically yeah, the major threat. So what are the effect of microplastics on biodiversity? You can see in this picture that once these microplastics are accumulated in the biota, it can go to the everywhere. It can be gulped by fishes, fin fishes, or the filter feeder like mussels. They are also absorbing all these microplastics from the water bodies. Then turtle, then seabirds. So everywhere these microplastics can be so Indian coastline is a hotspot of this microplastic pollution. As you know, India is surrounded by the Arabian Sea in the south west and the Bay of Bengal in the south east. Ultimately, it is joining and it is connect to the Indian Ocean as a North Indian Ocean. The country, you know that we are having a huge coastline, more than 7,500 kilometer, and the plastic debris into this Indian Ocean have been so far not much study have been done. So we are doing these studies, and now recently during last 3 or 4 years, few work has been going on. So they estimated that in the Indian Ocean dreams were like 14 14 million metric ton it is plastics are have been found in the Indian Oceans. And in that compared to the US and China, so it is not as large amount, but it is still not insignificant. Despite of this relative low plastic waste production in the Indian Rim, a large percentage end up in the environment because of our poor waste management system and the knowledge. And we seriously don't know how to use and how to dispose it, how to recycle it. So these are the few drawbacks we have for that, we are gradually coming into the bigger threat of the plastics, microplastics pollutions. So in 2015, I joined NIO, National Institute of Oceanography. Before that, I was working in Tokyo. I did my doctorate and postdoctorate over there, and we were working on the microplastics, basically on the pellets. So I was with the International Pellet Watch program. But then I realized that it is very important to start this microplastic research work in India. So I resigned my job basically, and I came to India and started this research work. Basically, we focus on the abundance, identification, quantification, and characterization of microplastics in several matrices like water, sediment, biota, different aspects. So we started with beaches, rivers, a sewage system, and also the cosmetics and seafood, pathogenic bacteria, how it is coming to the MPs. These are the all major research topic right now is going on in my laboratory. So I will just give you a brief of how we are doing the research and what are our findings. So first, we started our baseline data generation about abundance of macro and microplastics along the shoreline of Goa. So we started picking up all these secondary and primary microplastics from the beaches. So we choose 6 beaches from Goa, no, 3 from the north, 3 from the south, and also moderate polluted to the heavily polluted beaches we have chosen. And we have got a huge interesting results of our microplastic study. This we have published in 2016 in Chemosphere, where we have shown that how these microplastic pellets are coming, fresh pellets are coming in the southwest west monsoon time, which is basically our monsoon. Whereas in the northeast monsoon time, we get a lot of colored pellets and a lot of degraded pellets. That means those pellets are lying on the bed of in the beach for longer time. It is getting degraded, and which pose a threat, as I said. And polyethylene and polypropylene were the dominant polymer types we found along the Goa beaches. So after that, we uh, gradually we move towards the river and estuarine ecosystems. So we since we found the microplastics in the beaches, so we wanted to know that how it is coming. And as I said you that there are a lot of sources through which these microplastics are coming. So we then headed towards the estuarine system in Goa. In Goa, we have two major rivers, Mandavi and Juari. So we have a huge estuarine system, which we call as a Mandavi Juari estuarine system. In that, we collected sediment samples and also the surface water sample and water column. And then these are the brief methodology how we are working. So those samples have been sieved, and by its sediment or the water column sample has gone with the density separation method. And finally, with the help of our instrument called FTIR and stereo zoom, we have identified those microplastics. So here is the results that how we see a microplastic. It might be interesting for you that how with the stereo zoom microscope, when we see the small size microplastic, how it looks, so many different colors, so many different shapes of microplastics we found, which is very important for our study to understand the sources of microplastics. And then finally, if when we are seeing those microplastic particle by stereo zoom microscope, it is very important to understand what kind of polymer it is, because without knowing the polymer, you cannot understand from which source these plastics have came. So here is this in this slide you can see that how we we select a small portion of the microplastics, and with the help of our FTI micro FTIR, this instrument is not much available around the India. So we have it, and that's why we can identify lots of different variety of polymers with the help of this micro FTIR. And we have a polymer library. So with this library, we identify the exact polymer of the microplastics. So with this study of this estuarine system, we found a very interesting results, and we published these results in 2021. the spatial and seasonal variation of microplastics and their possible sources in the estuarine system from central west coast of India. Then as we found a lot of microplastics in a very small river like Mandavi Juari, so we understood that there must be a huge amount of microplastics study is required in Ganga River. So that's why we took this project for 2 years, and we did the seasonal sampling in Ganga from 5 or 6 locations, Ganga and Yamuna River. And you can see that how we have done this sampling with the help of the net, Mooster net. So during the Ganga River sampling, we really faced a lot of constraint because Ganga River is not a very small river, and during the monsoon season, the sampling is a very challenging task. While collecting the surface water due to the high water flow and turbulence, it was very difficult with our net. And then lot of organic matters are there which always getting collected with the net, which always give us the difficulties to find out the microplastics. Also this towing time also is very very important, that how much time we should tow this net, because a lot of places in Ganga River we have this phytoplankton bloom, which really give us a challenge to collect the samples. A lot of places there are very shallow water in Ganga. When we went to Allahabad, the sample collection was very tough, so we couldn't take a normal boat. We took a small rowing boat, and with the help of that boat we have collected this sample by using our net. So those are very challenging tasks for collecting the sample. And but this was so interesting that Japanese government also have shown the interest on our study, and that's how it was also shown in the Japanese NDTV. And also it came to our newspaper that they have covered all our sampling procedure and our work. So that's how we did the sampling microplastics work on the riverine system. But as I said that in the river, when the microplastics comes, how it comes, it must have come through the sewage channel, the sewage outlets. So that's how we started work on the sewage around the Panjim area. We took one treatment plant sample and 3 other untreated sample, and this is the results we found in the sewage, that a lot of microplastics are there. Almost 42 type of polymer we found in this sewage water. This study is still going on because we have got the preliminary data, but yes, we are now in the process of publishing that paper. So in this study in the sewage, we found that a lot of beads and fibers are present. So to study those, we were trying to understand what are the sources of these beads. For that, 10 different variety of cosmetics and laundry and washing machine and effluent sample was analyzed. So here you can see that types of microbeads are almost 89 to more than almost about 70,000 microbeads for 50 gram of sample we have found. And these are the structure of the microbeads. Lot of different type of polymer they are using in the microbeads, like polyethylene, polyvinylidene, fluoride, polypropylene, and acrylonitrile. So these are different polymers which give us the source. For example, polyethylene, like it is the maximum uses polymers, and it also used in the packaging material also. So for that is a reason in the microplastic study we get a lot of polyethylene. So this study we also found in the in the laundry samples, we have found a lot of microfibers, synthetic microfiber. You can see in this image. Also, some fragments of microplastic also have been found. Probably it came through the detergent what was used. So this study is also under the process, and we are very soon we will publish it. But the finding of this study, which give us a kind of conclusion, that when we are studying this water in the estuarine system, in the sewage wastewater, and in the sediment, and also in the washing machines, all these combined together, we found 5 major polymer which are the major source of this microplastics. Number one, in the middle you can see this Polyacrylamide is the first, which is kind of nylon material. EV wedge, this comes from the packaging material. Polyamide also is a synthetic fiber. Polyacetylene, polyvinyl alcohol, these are also in different various source of plastics, like packaging, like some kind of tire material. So these are the major sources of microplastic which we have found. And then we studied microplastics in the seafood. We had a project and we did this work in the finfishes, two species of finfish, which is majorly consumed in Goa, and also three different species of shellfishes, oysters, clams, and green mussels. These are used as a seafood in the Goan thali. So huge amount of these species have been consumed by human beings. So because of that, we have chosen this species, and we have found this different variety of polymers. You can see in this shellfish, these are the 5 major polymer we found, and this is the finfish. So this paper was a very interesting paper, and we published it in Chemosphere, and I think 2021 we published. So this is a major insight of microplastics in seafood, which we have found in our study. Then also now the major thing, as I said, in microplastics, we have the chemical threat. So microplastics have two type of chemical threat. One is what is adsorbed on their surface, and another is which is already there inside the microplastics. We call it as a plasticizer or plastic additives. For example, bisphenol A, nonylphenol, phthalates, these are the major plasticizers. So that study I wanted to do, and we had a collaboration with the University of Birmingham, and we have done this study in the beach plastics. So we collected all these plastics material from the two major locations, Mumbai and Goa. So first preliminary study have been done in my lab, where we have found their polymers and what are the major plastics types are there. And second part I have done in VU University, Amsterdam. So I've been there in their university as a visiting professor, and there in their instrument called Microtoph, there I analyzed all these microplastics to understand that what are the major plasticizers are there in our beach microplastics. Along with the beach plastics, I have taken also the new same variety of the plastic. For example, if I found a spoon in the beach, the same spoon I bought from the shop, I bought a new spoon. Now I compared the both new plastics and the beach degraded plastics to understand that what are the leaching amount of plasticizer, like plasticizer how much it has been leached. So among the various compounds like phthalates, nonylphenol, BPA, we found the 60% of the total number of the samples, and also in the new samples. These samples are subjected for the further quantitative analysis. So in quantitative analysis of these samples, we found not only this plasticizer, there are few plasticizer which are not much highlighted, but these are equally carcinogenic, like TPHP, TCPP. So you can see this. These are also carcinogenic. These also cause endocrine disruptions and birth defect. So these plasticizers are found majorly in our plastics waste in the beach. So gradually, when we are studying this, at the simultaneously, we wanted to know if we can find any solution of this microplastic problem, because often I face this question that what is this, if we are finding this much pollution, so what is the solution? So that's why I have started this microbial degradation study on microplastics. So what we did, we collected some primary microplastics from the beaches, and we cultured it. We found almost 36 different type of bacterial consortiums in our plastics. And from that, three major bacteria, which is the bacillus group, they have shown a very clear results on the microbial degradation of the polyethylene beads. This study is also now going on. So hopefully we can publish the paper very soon. So we have found the microplastics which are carrying those bacteria, and with those bacteria are also eligible to do the microbial degradation of microplastics. So this bacteria, if we can use in a larger scale, probably we can use it as a major scale of degradation of microplastics, and we may do get a solution in one small part of the microplastic waste management. So ongoing and upcoming projects which is going on in my lab is environmental impact of microplastics, a major concern of seafood, which the preliminary results are already I have shown you and published, and we are doing further study about that. Developing an observatory for the measuring plastics for macro to nano, these in the Indian Ocean, that is also going on, is undertaken. And sustainable mitigation approaches of this micro and nanoplastics, that also we are trying to figure it out, that how we can do it. So these are the major projects right now we are working. So here I'm almost coming to the end of my talk, saying that banning single-use plastics, what we our honorable Prime Minister have done a couple of years back, is that the solution that we have already overcome? COVID, we again there is a re-entrance of the single-use plastics in form of gloves, mask, the small sanitizer, PPE kit. So those are also now adding those single-use plastic pollution along the beach. You can see in these pictures. And WWF reported that if just 1% of the masks were disposed of incorrectly and dispersed in nature, this would result in as many as 10 million masks per month polluting the environment. So you can imagine that how these because of this COVID, these single-use plastics are also entering. I just hope it should not be that much that it is uncontrollable. So if we can just now right now, if we can control this and we can properly recycle it, and disposing also, we need a lot of knowledge sharing, even to the the people who have not much knowledge in our country, who are in a below poverty level, who doesn't understand that how to deal with this. So these things, these messages should go up to them so that we can control it right now. So the solution, as a solution, what I can say, that once the plastic fragments are dispersed into the greater environment, it is impossible to recover it. So before you dispose, think think about that. So we have 9 major reasons to refuse the single-use plastics. Number one, it is made with the fossil fuel. It has a huge carbon footprint. It will definitely still be there hundreds of years, because plastics needs hundreds year to degrade. It never can vanish. It creates tiny particles, and then it is creating the threat to the ecosystem. And we have a very small portion of the plastic waste which we can recycle. So that's why before creating this, you have to think that much waste can we create, because we cannot recycle or we cannot manage those waste. Also, this enters in our food chain. This is killing the marine animals. It is polluting the oceans. So there are several reasons which make us like we are in a threshold now to understand that where we have to control, and we have to use less plastic which is creating the waste. I am not telling you that plastic is a bad things, or plastics we can ban it. Definitely not. Plastic is a good material when it is utilized properly. In the medical industries, or it is in the automobile industry, there are several industry or places where plastic is required because it is the moisture resistant. But those plastics which we are creating as a waste in terms of our party, or whatever the way we are creating those waste, that waste we have to control, so that we should not make more plastic carbon footprint in our world. So the way forward, that's what I have just figured it out, that what are the several things. Of course, that you have to reuse recycle and refuse plastics, and we have to believe in the circular economy, that how it is the manufacturing, the consumption, and the recycling. These should be all, you know, work together. It should be dependent on each other. Then only we will be able to, be benefited in a very useful manner. And also the blue ocean economy, this is another way forward. Controlling the microplastics, need a microeconomic organization for the cooperative governance of microplastics. And the sustainable use of packaging and the plastic should be regarded as a part of the corporate social responsibility. And we should focus more on the marine waste solutions, because it is a global concern right now. And rules and relevant actions and policies, this also really required to understand that which plastic need to be banned, and how it can be recycled, how it can we can manage all those plastics pollutions. So these are the major things we can do. Of course, we can clean up the beach, we can clean up our surrounding, but that's not all. Because how much you will clean up if the generation is too much? For example, for a 2 kilometer of beach, we have done often this beach cleanup in Goa. And lot of people participate in this program. This 130 people once we participated, and I have given the report also. But the total liter, if it is almost 2000 kilogram, in that more than 1000 kilogram is the plastic waste itself. So if these plastic waste are generating and buried in the beach environment, how you will recover? How much you can clear up the trash? So you have to reduce at some point of time. That's the main point where we have to understand. And not only the talk, it should come from your within your houses, your own places, where you can start your own way of contributing towards the plastic pollution management. That's all. Thank you so much for attending my talk. I hope that it will give you an insight about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saha. Questions, please.
Hello, Dr. Shah. This is Shoma Bhattacharya here. I don't know, means it may be a foolish question. Yeah. I don't know. But so, for example, you know that in India, most of the sewage system, if you observe that all of them are running to the main river. For example, we are staying in Varanasi, and you know that I have seen over here that the Ganges is carrying the whole sewage of the Varanasi city as well as the adjoining areas. And there are two, I should say, in fact, originally they were rivers, but one of them has turned into canal that is known as Assi. And what is happening that it carries a lot of, I have seen, even if you walk across the bridge over that Assi canal, you have to put a handkerchief on your mouth, otherwise it's very difficult to.
I have done the sampling in your I have done sampling in the Asi Ghat and all those places in Banaras twice. So I know this.
So you already know that those kind of problem is there. So what is your suggestion or what is your advice to, I don't know, means to reduce the this kind of pollution or this kind of plastics and all those ones? Yes, means because you know that in India, what I have found that mostly the literate people, they are doing the mistakes instead of the illiterate ones. So what is your suggestion or what is your advice? I don't know, means it may be a foolish question or rubbish question, I don't know.
No, it's not foolish question. It is a very important question. But the thing is that every places, see, the central government cannot control the each and every place. So we have state government and we have the other more defined people like in municipal corporations and all. They should take action about it. For example, if you see the Indore city, or if you see even in Goa, we have our city is governed by the government, the state government, and who have taken a lot of actions to reduce the plastic litter generation. See, Goa being a tourist place, a lot of floating tourists are coming and who are generating this waste we are throwing. But there should be a way. So there are a lot of bins have been kept. There are a lot of hoardings, placards, and a lot of fine they are doing. So there are several things which we can do in a policy, and the action can be taken by the government, the local government. But of course the main thing can be done by the human beings. For that, our society, for example, if you're talking about the Banaras, I don't know, the NGOs and the local people, they should make them aware who are creating this waste. See, the waste which are coming through the sewage, that need to be controlled in a scientific way. For example, sewage treatment plant should be so much improved that the plastics, microplastic can be filtered in this treatment plant itself, so that it should not come. Because as per my knowledge in India, first of all, we don't have much sewage treatment plant. So mostly the untreated sewage are coming from through these outlets. And along with that, even the sewage treatment plant have not much more facility, the facility is not there much, so that they can tackle with these plastic pollutions. So those things need to be done in a very technical way. But there is other part where you have to do lot of work on the city betterment. For example, in the Ganga river itself, I saw that I think government has taken this Ganga action plan. I saw the in Banaras itself, I saw that there is a huge cleaner kind of boat. It is still standing in the Ganga river, but the local people are saying that that boat hardly work, whereas the central government kept that boat for the Ganga cleanup, but that is not working. So my point is that if government is taking a one action, that need to be pursued, that need to be applied. Otherwise, it will not be magically clean up. No, it will not happen magically. So those action need to be taken by lot of way, the spreading the awareness, spreading make some policies. So that is the way probably we can handle, and a lot of other ways are there. I think we should work on that. We should follow those cities that who have already achieved their target, like Indore. They are like zero waste, zero plastic waste city. So it's not like that in India it is not possible. Some cities, some areas, they have proved that it is possible, but we need to just follow that system. It's all depends on the system. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Such a nice talk. I have one question. Just you mentioned that you have done a sampling from the top surface of the rivers or water bodies, and there are also sediments are there. So I just want to ask that which part of the water body, like top layer, surface layer, or middle, or in the bottom layer, which part mostly get affected or get
Or the
polluted
sediment?
by the yeah in the water body, like top surface of the rivers or the bottom layer, which part
See,
get
in the
much more affected?
river, okay, in the river we have found this surface water. We have done the surface water and the water column and the surface sediment. In the bottom, first 2 centimeters of sediment, surface sediment have been taken. So major amount of microplastic we have found in the sediment, because in the water it depends on the monsoon or the season. In the monsoon time, a lot of turbulence, so maybe sometimes we are getting a lot of microplastics, but then dry season there are not much microplastic in the water column. But in the sediment it get deposited. So the particles, when they are staying in the column for longer time, it accumulate many other particles like dust or the particulate matters like organic matter or the sediment particles. So then it is gradually it became heavy and it deposited and it trapped in the sediment. That is how so we have found major amount in the sediment compared to the water. But yes, it is first come to the water and then gradually it buried in the sediment. So if we do the sediment core, probably we will be able to understand that how systematic, historically it deposited. So right now we have done the surface sediment, and which is the highest, which is having the highest microplastics.
Okay.
Yeah, you got your answer, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And maybe, okay, it is a little funny. Like whenever we try to buy some fishes, like from rivers and like this, so we should, I mean, thought of that, or what say, like, is this fish coming from this river? I should take it or not, like because of this microplastics and these things.
For finfish, even the threat is less because it mostly accumulated in their guts, and we remove the guts before we eat. But of course, if you are eating the mussels or shellfishes, then it is a worry. So yeah, because they accumulate the microplastic, they are filter feeders, so their whole body is accumulating, and people are taking those tissue only. So it can directly transfer to the body. So I would say shellfishes are more threatening than finfishes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Zaha, I have a question. Let us suppose that the people of India, I don't want to talk about the government, that's, as you have said so nicely, it is really the job of the people.
Yep.
The government can take only certain kinds of action. It's the people who have to use their heads, which they usually don't. So in your opinion, what do you think, how bad will the problem be, let us say, in about 5 years' time? Assuming that nothing is
In
done.
India,
Some people like you who can only measure the problem rather than do anything much more than that. Yeah.
yeah. So, as I said, that it depends on how we are dealing with the problem in the coming 5 years. Because in India, I see that yes, the preliminary action has been taken by the central government by banning single-use plastics. But even though it is banned because it is India, and honestly, in India, if any rules comes, it is hardly applied because although it is officially banned, but there are a lot of states where single use, those plastic packet, those packaging materials, those are still going on. But a lot of NGOs, and yes, it is much better in terms of the awareness. It is much better what I have seen 5 years back, because 5 years back nobody was interested about microplastic study or plastic pollutions. 5 6 years back when I came here. But yes, now people at least know the problems. Now people are at least spreading the words in the school level, in the college level. So I being a scientist, I'm always keeping my hope that it is going to be improved. But yes, lots of action need to be taken, not only by the government, by each and every institute, whether it is a school or college or university. It should start from the students, it should go to the society, the message, and it should work in a very large scale. But yes, in India, we are actually, as someone in the beginning said, that civilized people are actually the major creator of the plastics, because in India, being a very, they believed always in a organic stuff, being long time. So even if you go to the village, they are still using a lot of organic. Instead of plastic, they are using the leaf. They are still eating on the leaf. They're still using a lot of organic material. Instead of microbeads, they are crushing the seeds and using as a scrub. But we civilized people are using more plastics material. We are buying more and more stuff from the supermarkets. We are creating all those. So those things need to be really handled. So it depends on how it is going to be handled, then only we can be really predict. But as per the prediction by JMBAC, which I said that by 2025, India is going to be on the 5th positions as the way it is having those, the production and consumption is happening.
So the situation in the short term, at least, is going to worsen considerably.
Yes, it is really a very, it's a situation where we should really, we have to be concerned about it, and we should take the action. It's not only the talks, and not only it should not be limited to the, to a seminar hall or this kind of webinar. It should be really applied in the action. So action is much more needed. I worked with some NGOs where I really try to convey the how the action need to be taken. So there are a lot of way we can take those action, governmental body or non-governmental body, doesn't matter, but the action need to be taken.
So, thank you. Another question I have is, have you seen evidence of decline of species in coastal areas due to microplastic pollution?
No, that is a still long-term study. We have just started the study that we have first found the baseline data that microplastics is accumulated in the species. Now, for this study, that it is whether this species is depleting or not, we need a long-term study, like a 5-6 years gap, continuous study to understand the how much is their population is decreasing, and along with this microplastic study should be going on. So it need time, but we are working on that. That's what we are working, that how, and the ecotoxicological effect, how it is actually microplastic is disruption is happening in the body. Those work need to be done. So initially in India, uh, we have very limited resources, like instruments, like manpower, like this kind of things. A lot of we have a lot of drawbacks, which in abroad they don't have. Since I worked in abroad, so I know that we those are very easily available, but where in India we need to little bit struggle. But we have started this work, and we have really, we are proceeding into a lot of different side of this work. But yeah, hopefully in coming few years we will be able to understand that your question.
So here you have a collection of about 12 engineers and physicists, etc., and material scientists.
We have, yes, we
No,
have
no, no,
physical
right now,
oceanography.
they're listening to you. Tell them what they can do.
Okay.
Tell them what they can do to help you. As scientists, as engineers, tell them what they can do to help.
Yeah, engineers, being engineers, I would say they can just see, when we are talking about reduction, at least engineers can work on how this waste management can be improved. See, now we know that from the plastic, they are making roads, they are making cements, those shaded microplastics have been used, but engineers' job is to understand those things, how sustainable it is. For example, if they make a road, whether this is again coming from those roads or not to the water bodies, those things are really need to be taken care by engineers. And so the solution part, definitely engineers can do a lot of work, that how this plastic waste can be used in various useful way, and which will not pose further threat to the ecosystem. My point is that we cannot just end up with a one problem to another problem. So we have to, when an engineer is making some solution out of this recycled plastics, or the way they are handling the plastics waste, so we have to, and this is one way. And another way, engineers also should try to find out the alternative of plastics. See, many of the cases we suggest the organic materials like bamboos and all, which can be used as a alternative of the plastics, cutleries or whatever it is. But yes, there are several places where we cannot give any suggestion that how we can replace those plastic material by some other materials. So definitely engineers can find out any other synthetic material or alternative to the plastics, which could help us to control these plastics pollutions. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions, please?
Yes, I have a question, small question. Uh, what is a microplastic here in the, apart from the size, if you say, what I do not understand what is a microplastic. I mean, the how we identify it is a microplastic. Okay, is it there difference between the normal plastic or the microplastic?
No,
And
they are not
next
different from the normal plastics. They are the same from the like normal plastics. As I said, there are two types of microplastics we have. One is primary, that means the raw materials of the any plastic products. For example, one plastic bottle you are making. For making that bottle, you need a raw materials of plastics, and those plastics are the pellets. Like we call it the nardle or pellets or whatever it is. So sometimes those pellets are accidentally spilling in the oceans, and we have got a lot of plastic pellets in the beaches. So those are also microplastics. Those came out of spillage or accidentally transportation or something, some other way, and that microplastics are we are calling as a primary microplastics. That means it just came as a raw material. Whereas any large size plastic bottle, if it is keeping in a beach for longer time, it is laying in the beach, and then usually because of the photo degradation or wave or other kind of degradation processes, if it break down and more smaller size you are finding the same material, there is no material change. That's the why I said the polymer is same. So when you are finding the polymer of a microplastics, you can understand from which kind of source it could have came. It would have came from, for example, a small microplastic. If you are finding polyethylene, then you will understand that this polyethylene might have came from some packaging material or some polyethylene bottle. So you can understand that what could be the major source because of this identity, because of their signature is same. So we call it as a polymer signature, like it's like a fingerprint. If you find out it here, that fingerprint came from there, some of the source. So that's how from the microplastics we can understand the source. Now a larger size plastic bottle, if you see in the beach, you can easily remove it and that is gone. You may think that okay, I can contribute to some solution, but when it created the small microplastics, and if it is gone to the river and water body, you cannot remove it because it is not visible in naked eyes, so nobody can remove it. So microplastic was more threatening than a larger size macroplastics. That is the reason we are now studying so much about the microplastics and microplastics threat and from which source it is coming, so that we can stop that source, so that it should not go farther to the water body. That is our target.
So
But
it means
yes,
that
of course, what already have been gone, that you cannot remove. Yes, please.
it means that the property of the that microplastic will be the same. I mean, the property means the electrical property, like the permittivity and the other things will be the same like the normal plastic. So the polymers, like
Yes, yes,
there will
right.
be not any difference.
We didn't check these parameters, of course, but it will be same because this is the same plastics. We always check the polymer signatures to understand polymer chemistry. But of course, this other parameters, what you have said, this also will be same because it is the same material.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Rajan, you could do FTIR, for example, or you could do UV vis measurements.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think you could do microwave measurements because these plastics, these particles are just too small.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, sir.
Yeah, but you can do near infrared, UV vis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Lavanya. I have one question with the continuation of Rajan's one. What kind of measurements you usually do on the samples you've taken from the water surface? What kind of analysis you do usually? Like to understand what kind of plastic?
Okay, so first work is our basic work is the quantification that how much is the microplastic abundance. For example, if you are taking 20 liter of water, then how much microplastics are there, and we give the data as a gram per liter. And second is the characterization of microplastics. That microplastics, what sort of characterization consists of few parameters like how it is shaped, it is size, it is color, and finally the polymer. So all these four parameters are really helpful to understand that from which source this microplastic might have come. And specifically the last one, the polymer, is very important, and that is very difficult, tedious job to measure in a microplastics because it is in a small, very small size. Right now we are able to making the data until 20 micron size of microplastics. But yes, as I said, there are much smaller size of microplastics, even 1 micron. That's called nanoplastics. So we need an improved measurement system so that we can measure even those small size particles also. Yeah, so these are the major parameters we measure so that we can understand that once we get the polymer, you can understand which polymer pose what threat. So that is also our finding. Yep.
Thank you.
Last call for questions.
Hello, ma'am.
Please go ahead. Shweta, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I am Sweta from IIT BHU. I want to ask that
Yes.
if we remove the traces or plastics from the river, means if we clean the river, then what should be the further process to decompose this garbage properly?
You mean to say the larger size trash if you remove from the river?
Yes,
because
ma'am.
the smaller size you cannot remove, right? So the larger size when you are removing from the rivers, yeah, there are a lot of ways that we can do those recycling. First of all, we have to understand, we have to do the segregation of the plastics, that which plastics can be recyclable and which are not. The plastics which are not recyclable, those plastics need to be really in a proper way to, as I said, that it is very difficult to decompose because it is not decomposing, it is not degrading. And then many people are using incineration and pyrolysis process. They are burning those plastics which cannot be recycled. Many are using landfill, but landfill is a very wrong options. We now worldwide nobody is supporting the landfill, but yes, those plastics which cannot be recycled, those probably there is some way in abroad now people are doing this incineration. They, in a very high temperature, they destroy those plastics so that it should not generate further chemicals. But yes, that is also under experiment. And there are a lot of plastics which can be recycled, and those plastics need to be shredded. They shred it, and those shredded plastics they use in a different way in a recycle unit. different other substances they are making. So yes, so there are these two way they can handle with those plastic waste. So there are a lot of industry, they are now working on this plastic waste management, how those waste can be utilized. A lot of startup, maybe you guys will make a startup in future and do some work so that that's in the engineering background, as I said before, that you guys have to bring up new ideas how you can utilize those recycled plastic out. But right now, few works are going on with these shredded plastics. They are making bricks. They are making many other cements. A lot of other things are they are doing, but it is not a large scale. In small scale, they are doing in India.
Okay, ma'am. I want to ask that it is useful way to use the plastic to making the roads.
That's also that's what I said. This is a huge question right now, that whether we can rely on those roads or not. Right now, I really cannot comment on that because it will be not a good idea to comment, because I personally didn't check those roads which have been made. Yes, we can predict that sometimes there is a chance of leaching of microplastics if it is monsoon, or if those roads are not made properly, then over the period of time it may degrade or shed those microplastics. That is one my concern. But as per those road makers, they are saying that they have made it such a way that it will not happen. Now this is a two different aspects which could be answered over the period of time, because those roads are made maybe a year back. So we need to wait some couple of years, 3 to 4 years, to check those roads are getting, they are releasing microplastics or not. If it is releasing, then we really have to stop that. So yes, there is a chance, definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Other questions? We have somebody from high school. Mania, yes, go ahead, Mania. Good.
Thank you. Ma'am, I have a question, a quick one. Do you see plastics or say microplastic becoming a threat to specifically drinking water in near future, or like even in the distant future?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
He's asking if microplastics will become a threat to drinking water.
Yeah, in drinking water, yes.
So do you
So
see
your question is
it
that
becoming
microplastic have been
specifically?
found in drinking water. Can you
Yes, ma'am,
please
like
repeat your
it
question, because your
becoming
voice is breaking. I cannot hear
Mania,
you.
let me repeat your question. What she's asking is,
okay.
have microplastics entered drinking water, or do you think they can seriously imperil the safety of drinking water?
Yeah, they can definitely, because as I said, that microplastics is there in I might not have mentioned. We actually check the groundwater have microplastics also, and yes, those water treatment plant cannot completely remove the microplastics, very small size plastics. So we have found, we checked that paper we haven't published yet, but we have checked pre-treated water and post-treated water. Post-treated water is comparatively less number of microplastics, but yes, there are a lot of microplastics have been found in pre-treated water. But as soon as it comes to the tap, after treatment, we found a lot of microplastics in tap water. So now the question is that we have to really think about the way they are transporting those water. If it is those PVC pipe may add more microplastics to the water, that could be one reason that I got microplastics in tap. So it definitely it can be there in the drinking water, but then if the treatment plant is really good working, then it will be less. Yeah, in India, that's the situation probably.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Just a little bit continuation if my voice is clear now.
Yeah. Clearly.
Also, like India has a big network of this underwater reserves, like most of rural, say, or not so developed areas depend on the underground supplies. So, will you say like the water is polluted by the plastic underground itself, or as you said, the
Yes,
PVC or
that's what
the
I said. That's what I said. I have personally collected the groundwater from the rural area of India. Those work is going on. Yes, we have found microplastics. Depends on the where is that area situated. Probably those results will come very soon. But yes, we have found the microplastics even in the very deepest groundwater, like which is drawn with the help of borewell. There also we have found the microplastics, but we cannot just see if we find microplastic, we cannot just say that it is threatening. It might be there, but how much is the threshold limit, which we call as a threatening, that we cannot tell right now, because there is not a particular threshold limit of microplastics. Because this microplastics whole thing is so new, even WHO also couldn't make a threshold limit. For example, for heavy metals and all, there is a threshold limit that below which it is okay, above which it is threatening. But for microplastics, that kind of limit has not been drawn yet. So that's why we cannot just say that this is threatening. But yes, we can say right now whether it is present or not. And yes, I have found microplastics in the groundwater, in the deeper, which you call as a underwater reservoir. There also I found. Yeah, and it is there.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I guess we are done with questions.
Hello, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead, Nupur.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am, for this
please.
nice talk. Ma'am, is there possibility of this microplastic pollution detected in human blood?
So your sentence I couldn't hear properly.
Ma'am, is there possibility of this microplastic pollution detected in human blood?
Human blood, yes. The study is done in the same university where I worked, and there the View University, Netherlands. They only studied this human blood, and they found the microplastics in human blood. We haven't done it. I cannot say right now what is the possibility in us, but yes, they have found it. So first report has came out, and let's see if it is also there in. But yes, it is possible, right? As I said, that microplastics is no more a only micro. It's like nano. So it is so small that it can penetrate to the tissues, it can penetrate even to the blood cell. It is that small. So definitely there is a chance. But right now, no report in India. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for such nice talk. So I think everybody asked their questions.
Thank you. Thank you for this arrangement. At least I'm very happy to see that you have a lot of questions. You are interested to know many things. So that's a good part. Hopefully that you will work on it.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Yes.
Well,
Okay, then.
well, with that, let everyone turn on their cameras, please, if possible. We can take a group picture. Yes, yes. Manya, please turn on your camera if you can. Shipra. All right, Aarti, Shipra, Nupur. Okay, I'm ready to take a picture. Done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being there. Yeah. Bye. I'm signing off.